All right, we are back for week number 2, and Mel Tucker has turned the page already to Nebraska. You apparently have, because you're wearing red.
It's salmon, Brian. I don't need the comments my direction. I promise I won't wear anything that even resembles red the rest of the week.
All right.
It's funny because I got here and I look down and I go, oh no, I hope Brian Cabral doesn't see me. But I think it's not Nebraska red.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a fire hydrant over here, or a fire extinguisher over here that's red, so they might need to change that. But yeah, Mel Tucker is turning the page. The players are turning the page. We have not yet. We're going to look back at CSU a little bit more. Any thoughts you had as you look back at that game?
After the game, we talked about our concerns with the defense, justifiably. But we didn't mention the fact that they did make second half adjustments, and they did look better in the second half. So that was an encouraging sign. And then Saturday, you turn on the TV and you start watching college football across the country. And yeah, there's concerns with Colorado, but there's a lot of teams that have even more concerns after 1 week. And so I was a little down on this team after watching the first half against CSU, just from the defensive side. But you watch other teams, and CU was still won by 21 points. Right. So they're in a better situation. You look across the Pac-12. Unfortunately for USC, their starting quarterback goes down. Arizona, UCLA, Oregon State all lose their first game. Arizona State had kind of a slow start against an inferior team. Utah, yeah, they kind of turned it on late, but they didn't blow out BYU. Really, the Washington schools were the only schools you point to and say they had a phenomenal first week. So yeah, the Pac-12 is wide open, just like we thought it might be. And so you even look at Nebraska. Man, that sure looked like a beatable team. South Alabama was picked, and they might be better than this, but they were picked to be at or near the bottom of the Sun Belt. Yeah. And they challenged Nebraska for a while. So I'm a little bit more optimistic with CU's chances going into this game.
Yeah, it's hard to put too much stock into one game. But yeah, Nebraska, watching that game, Scott Frost at the end of the game called it the most anemic offensive performance he's been a part of. And it was not good offensively. And, Adrian Martinez didn't look great. They needed 2 defensive touchdowns and a punt return, to really kind of save them. They might have won the game anyway, but that's really what led them to the victory in the second half. So yeah, not a great performance. Not great performances really around college football. There was some here and there, but even Cal, I think they were down 10-0 to UC Davis, Dan Hawkins' UC Davis team at one point. So yeah, it's hard to judge, put too much stock into week 1.
Yeah, and Adrian Martinez, I was really shocked at how poor he looked. How about Darian Daniels, who didn't even play against CU last year, really sparking up the rivalry talk this week? That was some stuff that I think it's going to have to find its way into CU's locker room at some point this week.
Yeah, he said, I know we were the better team last year, so I know we're the better team this year. I'd look up and say, he wasn't even here last year. He was playing with Arlington Hambright up at Oklahoma State last year. So, yeah, it's funny comments. But that's the guy. He's already been voted a captain over at Nebraska. So, well-liked up there. But, yeah, quite the comments coming out of Darian Daniels.
We have a special guest, it sounds like, Tuesday press lunch, and I'm wondering if Bill McCartney is coming or what's happening, because that was fun last year. It's always fun to, they don't have a rival in the Pac-12 yet. So I'm going to enjoy all the rivalry banter this week.
Well, I don't know about you, but every time I hear from Bill McCartney, I want to go out and play. And so, I would imagine that it might be Bill McCartney. So we talk about this being a rivalry week. Scott Frost, after the game the other day, said he's looking forward to playing an ex-rival this week. Think that was a little dig at CU?
I think so. I think that's what he was going at. But their whole thing, even back in the day, was that they wouldn't recognize CU as a rival. So now I don't know. He's saying that in hindsight. I don't know. It was a weird comment.
It was kind of a weird comment, but it's Nebraska week. It's a lot of fun. So looking back at last week, is there anybody that jumped out at you as you went back and watched the game that maybe that night you, didn't jump out at you, but going back and watching, you thought, okay, wow, he was really good?
Well, when you're watching from the press box, you're kind of keying in on line personnel, but unless somebody makes a play, it's kind of hard to notice that. Going back, Kari Cush, in his first start, played really well. He was nominated for Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Week, a new award they have, and graded out at 86%. And so that was impressive. Coach Cap, when we talked to him about a week before the opener, said some guys will go out there and wilt under the pressure, and other guys will step up to it. Cush, at least for 1 week against probably not a very good CSU defense, played really well, so I was impressed by that.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize during the game that they made some changes at guard during the game. Colby Purcell, I don't think played any of the fourth quarter. Jack Shutak came in. Casey Roddick had some time at guard. Mel Tucker today said that they wanted to see some of those guys, and some of those guys step up and earn some playing time. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens at guard going forward.
Yeah, I would say probably 3 weeks in, though, you want to settle on a 5, let them get that continuity going. I've noticed that about Coach Cap is that he is willing to try guys to get the right 5 out there, but at some point I think he's going to want to settle in on a certain group.
Yeah. They also changed their kickoff specialists at one point during the game. 9 kickoffs, the first 6 by Davis Price. 2 were touchbacks. They bring in James Stefano for the last 3. He gets touchbacks on all 3. Mel Tucker said we kind of wanted more production there. I'm curious. I know it's not one of those positions that gets people excited, but that is a position. We've seen Davis Price do almost all the kickoffs the last 2 years. I wonder if that's one that they might make a change there.
Well, I thought he had gotten to a point where he was pretty consistent getting touchbacks, and there was a point early in the game I was wondering if there was a strategy,
right?
Because there are some teams that try to pop it up and then tackle them before the 25, which is a stupid strategy. Just put them at the 25-yard line every time. Don't give yourself a chance to have injuries or a breakout, return.
To save 6 yards.
Yeah, exactly. So, I in a perfect world, though, if James Stefano is going to be kicking a lot of field goals this year, you probably don't want to wear out his leg as much. But I don't know. Concerns on this team, that's not high on the
agree.
list.
It was just something that you noticed during the game, and that was actually Mike McIntyre's reasoning for not using him as kickoff specialist. But one guy that jumped out at me that had a good game, obviously, I noticed him during the game, but Tony Brown made some big catches. But really, Tucker was asked about it today, and I noticed it watching that game. Tony Brown did a good job without the ball as well. Tucker mentioned the wide receiver blocking. Brown did a great job. I mean, the catches he made were fantastic. I thought, to me, that was the best game maybe that Brown's played as a Buff.
You heard Darren Cheverini talk in the spring when, you want to hear other names out there because Tony Brown's kind of been the steady guy. He just has consistency every day with him, kind of a blue-collar guy, the anti-prima donna at receiver, which you can appreciate given some of the guys that have rolled through here in recent years. But even 2 of those catches that Tony Brown had then led to a rushing touchdown shortly after. So, he had a great game, even though it didn't, jump completely off the stat sheet.
And tight ends.
Yeah.
Brady Russell, 2 catches. Jalen Harris, 2 catches. Fun to see the tight ends get involved.
Especially for Jalen Harris. He had a great experience at Auburn. He doesn't talk down about his time there, but he said, look, I just wanted to catch some passes, show that skill set, maybe have a chance at the NFL. His first drive at CU, he scores a touchdown. It was only a 1-yarder, but still, he's the guy that gets the scoring points there. And so that was cool to see that. 4 catches by tight ends and in that game and 6 total from that group all of last year. So.
Yeah. And Jalen Harris, 6 catches in his career now, 3 for touchdowns. So at this rate, I mean, you want to throw to him all the time. If he gets 40 catches, 20 touchdowns, that's John Mackey Award type stuff.
All right. Sign him up.
Well, we'll be back later on this week to preview more of Nebraska.